I wrote the first draft. I remember coming over to do meetings in LA, and on the plane I actually saw Hurt Locker, and you know, the airplane is not the ideal place to see a movie for the first time, especially a movie like that. But I was so into the movie; it was so intense. I sat there with my headphones pressing against my ears, and just I couldn't take my eyes off of the movie and him. And I just thought he would be perfect for Hansel. I didn't want to. I didn't want a clean action star because, you know, even though it's an action movie, really wanted to sell the fact that these guys have a really dark past. And with Jeremy, you know, he's kind of have that naturally. You know, he's a great leading guy, and he can carry an action movie, but he also got this darkness to him. You know, you kind of feel like it's that unpredictability that I love with him. Gretel's got to be badass, you know, and she's got to match Hansel when it comes to action and brains, and you know, it's really hard, I think, selling I don't know. I mean, it's the female action heroes are, you know, when they work, they're so. I mean, it's so rewarding when it works, and I really, when I wrote the script, I really tried to bring in elements of the female action hero that's always worked in movies, and try to incorporate them into Gretel. And when I see movies, I get a crush on the female action hero if they're done right, you know. And that was the goal with Gemma. You know, you should and Gretel, you know, she should kick ass just as well as Hansel, and it should look like she's loving, you know, when she loved doing it, and Gemma did. With Jeremy, he said to me several times that he had so much fun doing this movie, and I think, you know, actors, you know, when they do something completely different they haven't done before, they always love it, you know. But again, you know, he really responded, even though, yes, in an action adventure movie, again, he really responded to the character because of the darkness and the bond to his sister. And he and Gemma, you know, have spent a lot of time, because there's not many moments in the movie where they kind of have this brother and sister moments, but when they do, you know, hopefully, you know, you really feel that they're close and they really have this bond, and that was important for him and Gemma, you know, really important for them. But I think he had a lot of fun doing the movie. That was a really important thing for us and for Jeremy, because he was on board very early, that, you know, when we're selling this brother and sister relationship, it's got to feel real and natural. You know, it can't be. If that doesn't work, the movie doesn't work. You know, if that bond, the brother sister relationship doesn't work, the whole movie is kind of just another action movie. So it was really important to find somebody, you know, that they really connected to straight away, and they did. I don't think people realize how dark those original fairy tales, you know, were. I mean, it was pretty violent. And I remember for Hansel and Gretel, I had this cassette that I used to listen to with the whole fairy tale, and it was brutal. And I still remember to this day how when the fairy tale ends, when they shove the witch in the oven and they close the door, they have this horrible sounds of the witch is screaming and scratching the inside of the oven with her fingernails and just burning to death. And you know, you listen to this when you're 5, 6-year-old, it makes an impression. My previous movie was a Nazi zombie movie, and it was kind of a mix between everything I love with movies. You know, you have horror and you have comedy and you have tons of gore. And I thought, you know, in my head, it's always, if you can successfully match those elements into one movie instead of just going for one direction, it's always somehow a bigger experience, you know, and a more fun experience. And so that was my goal with Hansel and Gretel, to take all these things that I love and try to incorporate them into this action story. I knew it had to be an action movie, of course, but also spice it with horror elements and comedy elements, and that was the goal going in. It starts with the fairy tale, kind of our interpretation of the fairy tale. You know, we felt it was important that we start with it, you know, just because so many people have. I don't think there's ever made a really serious movie about it yet, so I thought it would be fun to show it, you know, to actually do the fairy tale first, and just don't hold back in the fairy tale, just actually take it a little bit further than you read in the book, you know. So it, you know, ends with them burning the witch in the oven, and then we fade out and we meet them 15 years later, 15 to 20 years later, and they've grown up to be these successful bounty hunters that hunt witches. And they have you know, they don't like to talk about their past. Obviously, it's a big trauma for them, but they still have this really strong bond in between them, and that's kind of what's driving them, and they're sticking together no matter what. They get this assignment to come to Augsburg to investigate a lot of missing children, and it turns out that they're kind of brought back to the place, where it all began, where it all started, and they kind of learn new things about their past, things that they, because of course they think that their parents left them in the forest to die, so they learn new information about this, and also they meet their biggest adversary yet, and they learn that they actually have been lured to Augsburg by this evil witch, and they're part of her big plan. In every witch hunt, Hansel and Gretel does, we always see them struggling because every witch is different, and every witch is hard to catch. So we really try to make them diverse, and everybody, we're doing a lot of work now in sound to, I wanted to incorporate a different animal into every witch, so they kind of have this animalistic approach within them. So we're kind of choosing animals, what we think fits for this witch and for that witch, and trying to make them unique. But we really want to reinvent witches as a villain, because I think, when you hear about witches in movies, you think about a woman with a big nose and a big hat stirring her pot, and we really want to make them something completely different. Even in the fairy tale, we established early that if you burn a witch, that's the safest way to kill a witch, and that's kind of what we revisit to the movie. Yes, you can cut off her head and rip out her heart, like they said, but the best thing is burning her. Then she's dead, and fire is the thing that witches fear the most. So Muriel has come up with a plan of using a potion that will make witches immune to fire. So for the potion, they need a child born in every different month of the year, and also the heart of a white witch, and that will make the spell last forever. So, and all this has to be taken in during the blood moon that is approaching Augsburg. We had a great production designer, Stephen Scott, who did the Hellboy movies, which I saw, and I thought it was so rich and so imaginative that, he was the guy I wanted. And he, he's very old-fashioned. He draws everything by hand and color it by hand, and he's got a very imaginative mind. And that was again so much fun, coming up with the design of the classical candy house, or the town where they spend a lot of time in, or Muriel's caves. It's again trying to use these classical things that you might have seen in fairy tales before, and again add new elements and that we haven't seen before, and hopefully make it fresh. That's always a challenge, I guess, in any movie. We have this sequence where, in the beginning of the movie, where we see milk bottles with the missing children, posters on them, and we thought, it's fun. It's a fun way to making this classical world fresh in a way, but without you still buy it. Like it's a balance, and we, hopefully we stayed within that balance. The transformations were, of course, CGI, but I don't think we've done any CGI work on any of the makeup. Again, I love good prosthetics. It's just, and we got Mike Alisade and Spectrum Motion to do that, which again worked on Hellboy, movies that I love and I love the look of. So again, him designing with him all these faces of the witches was a lot of fun, and trying to stay away from the classical big nose with warts and all that stuff. But yeah, again, I don't think we've done any CGI touch-up on any of the makeup of the movie, which is, of course, a great testament to those guys.